Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Nicole Kidman has filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage. The court papers show the actress will remain the primary caregiver of the couple's teenage daughters.
When Nicole Kidman finally opened up about her divorces from Tom Cruise and Keith Urban, few expected her answer to be so brutally honest. After keeping her private life guarded, the actress revealed that experiencing divorce once did not make the second time any easier. From her unexpected marriage to Tom at just 23 to her 19-year relationship with Keith, Nicole has lived through two very different love stories. But what exactly did she confess about both marriages? And why does her latest revelation feel so unexpected? Let's find out. The pain, Nicole Kidman never gets easier. For years, Nicole Kidman's love life has been watched almost as closely as her movies. Her marriage to Tom Cruise made her one of Hollywood's most famous young wives, while her nearly 20-year marriage to Keith Urban became another defining chapter of her life. But now, after facing the end of both relationships, Nicole has finally opened up about how the two painful experiences compare. And her answer was surprisingly simple. When asked whether going through her divorce from Tom had prepared her for her split from Keith, Nicole did not say she was stronger, wiser, or more prepared this time. Instead, she offered just a few words. It's all new, every time. At first, that may sound like an ordinary response, but there is something much deeper behind it. Nicole was making it clear that heartbreak does not follow a pattern. One divorce does not give you a guidebook for the next. No matter how much time has passed or how much life experience someone has gained, losing a relationship can still feel completely unfamiliar. And this time was especially different. When Nicole married Keith Urban, she was no longer the young actress who had married Tom Cruise at 23. She had already built a major career, experienced years of worldwide fame, become a mother, and created an entirely different life with someone she loved. Even though Nicole had already experienced divorce once, this time felt completely different. She was not simply looking back at two famous marriages or comparing Tom and Keith. She was also confronting two very different stages of her own life, with different experiences, priorities, emotions, and a completely changed version of herself. The young Nicole who stepped into marriage with Tom was still discovering who she was. The woman facing the end of her marriage to Keith had decades of life behind her. Yet, the pain still felt new. Nicole Kidman made it clear after her second divorce that neither of her splits from her previous husbands felt easy. But what circumstances surrounded her first marriage? Did she have any specific goal or reason for getting married at such a young age? Could her inexperience have contributed to the end of her first marriage? Let's uncover the details. The lady who chose love over her career. When Nicole Kidman married Tom Cruise in 1990, she was only 23 years old. Cruise was already one of Hollywood's biggest stars, so the marriage immediately placed Nicole in a world of intense fame, cameras, and public attention. But looking back now, Nicole says she was not thinking about what the marriage might do to her career. She was simply in love. At just 23, she suddenly had one of the most famous actors on the planet as her husband. Overnight, the attention surrounding her life became much bigger. People wanted to know where they were going, what they were doing, and what their marriage was really like. Yet, Nicole says something about that period still surprises her. Despite the sudden fame and pressure, being in the spotlight felt strangely natural. She had fallen deeply in love with Tom, and at that age, that feeling mattered more than anything else. Not everyone around her saw it that way. Nicole later recalled that some people warned her that marrying Tom could hurt her career. They feared audiences might stop seeing her as Nicole Kidman, the actress, and instead see her mainly as Tom Cruise's wife. For a young actress trying to build her own identity, that was a serious warning. But Nicole did not care. Her attitude was clear. She was in love, she wanted to be married, and she was willing to accept whatever came with that decision. That response reveals something important about who Nicole was at the time. She was not sitting down and calculating how marriage might affect her future in Hollywood. She was not trying to protect her career at all costs. She was following her heart. And for more than a decade, that choice shaped nearly every part of her public life. Nicole and Tom remained married until their divorce in 2001, and by then, she had experienced something few people could understand at such a young age: living inside one of Hollywood's most famous marriages while trying to establish herself as an individual. But there was another side to marrying Tom that Nicole has recently opened up about. She was not simply becoming the wife of a superstar. She was learning how to become comfortable with the attention, pressure, and expectations that came with standing beside one of the most recognizable men in the world. And that experience would stay with her long after their marriage ended. Nicole confessed that she was warned about marrying Tom at such a young age, yet she was deeply in love and wanted marriage at the time. But how did that early experience shape the woman she became? And what happened when she found love again? Let's find out. Building a completely different life with Keith. After her marriage to Tom Cruise ended, Nicole Kidman eventually found love again with country music star Keith Urban. The two married in 2006, and their relationship grew into a nearly 2-decade-long marriage. Together, they built a family and raised 2 daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. For Nicole, this was not simply another relationship. It was a completely different chapter of her life. By the time Nicole met Keith Urban, she was no longer the young actress defined by her marriage to Tom Cruise. She had grown into a confident woman, built a respected acting career, and discovered her own identity. Nicole was no longer simply known as someone's wife. She had become a star in her own right. Then Keith became part of that life. For nearly 2 decades, Nicole and Keith built a life filled with family, careers, shared memories, and private moments. So, when their marriage ended, she wasn't simply losing a partner. She was losing a future she once believed would continue. Nicole recently revealed that, before the divorce, she had imagined her life turning out differently. She had a picture in her mind of what the future would look like, and Keith was a major part of that picture. Then, suddenly, that future was no longer certain. And this is where Nicole's comparison between Tom Cruise and Keith Urban becomes powerful. When her marriage to Tom ended, Nicole was still in her early 30s. She had spent much of her young adulthood inside a highly public relationship and was still discovering what she wanted her life to become. With Keith, everything was different. She was older. She had children. She had spent years building a career and a family. She had created a life that felt established and familiar. Losing Keith meant more than ending a marriage for Nicole. She was also letting go of a future she had imagined, leaving behind years of memories, plans, and shared dreams. Nicole had already experienced divorce once. She knew what heartbreak could feel like. She knew what it meant to start over. But when Keith's marriage ended, she discovered that knowing how divorce works does not prepare you for losing a different person, a different life, and a different future. Nicole had Keith Urban in the picture of the future she imagined, yet their divorce disrupted that plan. But how deeply did the breakup affect Nicole? And what did she admit when the life she had planned suddenly changed? Let's uncover the painful details. The fear. Nicole couldn't hide. Nicole Kidman has spent most of her adult life under the bright lights of Hollywood. She knows how to face cameras, answer uncomfortable questions, attend major events, and keep smiling while millions of people watch her every move. But there is one kind of situation no amount of fame can make easy: losing a marriage. When her relationship with Keith Urban came to an end, Nicole admitted that she felt very fearful and deeply vulnerable. Those words reveal a side of her that fans rarely get to see. From the outside, Nicole can seem calm, confident, and completely in control. She has spent decades learning how to protect her private life while living in public. But behind that strong image was someone facing a future she never expected to look this way. She had spent 19 years with Keith. They had built a family together. They had shared homes, careers, celebrations, difficult moments, and countless memories. Over time, that life probably became more than a relationship. It became the world Nicole knew. Then, everything changed. The future Nicole had imagined with Keith suddenly became uncertain, leaving her vulnerable. And despite surviving divorce before, she discovered that experience could never truly prepare her for another painful ending. Nicole has spoken about the importance of moving forward when life becomes painful. She understands that there are moments when a person can either close themselves off or find the strength to keep going. For Nicole, moving forward is not about pretending the pain never happened. It means accepting what she cannot change, letting go of the past, and choosing how she wants her next chapter to unfold. That is why Nicole has placed so much value on keeping her heart open. She has described wanting to live a life where she can try new things, make mistakes, fail, get back up, and continue growing. And that may reveal the biggest difference between the woman who divorced Tom Cruise and the woman now facing life after Keith Urban. The younger Nicole believed love was worth risking everything for. The older Nicole has learned that even when love ends, life does not have to end with it. Sometimes, the future you carefully planned disappears, and when it does, you have to find the courage to imagine another one. Nicole admitted that she felt very fearful and deeply vulnerable when her marriage to Keith Urban came to an end. But since she had already survived one divorce, why didn't that experience make the second one any easier? Now, let's unravel why Tom Cruise could never prepare her for Keith Urban. Why Nicole's second divorce was unfamiliar. Nicole Kidman's answer when asked to compare her two divorces was surprisingly short. It's all new every time. Just 5 words, but they reveal a lot about how she now views love, heartbreak, and starting over. It would have been easy to assume that Nicole was better prepared this time. After all, she had already gone through a very public divorce from Tom Cruise more than 2 decades ago. She knew how quickly headlines could spread. She knew people would have opinions, and she knew strangers would try to explain a relationship they had never actually experienced. But none of that prepared her for Keith Urban. The reason is simple. Nicole herself was different. The woman who divorced Tom in 2001 was not the same woman who eventually faced the end of her marriage to Keith. She had grown older, built a successful career, become a mother, and experienced an entirely different stage of life. Her relationship with Keith also carried nearly 2 decades of shared history. That is why Nicole does not see divorce as something you eventually become good at. Going through heartbreak once does not make you immune to it. Every relationship is different. Every person brings different memories into your life. And when that relationship ends, you are not simply losing a person. You may also be losing routines, plans, dreams, and a future you thought was already waiting for you. For Nicole, her divorce from Tom closed one important chapter of her life. Her separation from Keith meant closing another chapter that had lasted almost 20 years. That is why she does not seem interested in deciding Which breakup was more painful? Instead, she appears to understand that both experiences affected her differently. The young Nicole who married Tom was still discovering herself. She was willing to put love ahead of career concerns and accept whatever came with that decision. The Nicole facing life after Keith is much more experienced. She knows that love can be beautiful, but she also knows that life can change without warning. And now, instead of allowing her past to control her future, she seems determined to keep moving forward. Nicole made it clear that her separation from Tom did not prepare her for a divorce from Keith Urban. But what exactly has Nicole learned from both marriages, and how has that lesson changed the way she now sees love? Let's uncover the details. The family. Nicole refuses to let divorce break. One of the strongest parts of Nicole Kidman's recent comments is how important her children remain in her life. No matter what has happened in her relationships, family remains at the heart of her story. Nicole's two marriages are still connected through her children and the memories they share. With Bella and Connor from Tom, and Sunday and Faith from Keith, each relationship remains part of her family story. That connection makes every major change more emotional, complicated, and difficult to navigate. When a marriage ends, it is not only the two adults who have to adjust. There are children, family routines, shared memories, and relationships that continue long after the couple decides to go their separate ways. Nicole seems to understand that clearly. Instead of allowing the divorce to become the only story of her life, she has focused on what comes next. She has spoken about staying open to life, accepting change, and surrounding herself with people who genuinely care about her. That support becomes even more important because Nicole has admitted that she does not know exactly what her future will look like. Imagine spending 19 years believing you know what tomorrow will bring, only to suddenly realize that the future you pictured has changed. That uncertainty can be frightening. You have routines, you have plans, you know where you are going. Then, almost overnight, the map changes. Nicole could have allowed that fear to make her withdraw from love and life altogether. Instead, she appears determined to keep moving. She wants to keep learning, trying new things, making mistakes, getting back up, and keeping her heart open to whatever comes next. That is a surprisingly hopeful attitude from someone dealing with such a major personal change. It also shows how much Nicole has grown since her first marriage. The young woman who once said she did not care if marrying Tom affected her career because she was deeply in love has become a woman who understands that life cannot always be controlled. Sometimes you choose love. Sometimes love changes. And sometimes, when the future you imagined disappears, the only choice left is to accept the change, protect the people you love, and find the courage to begin again. Despite going through divorce twice, Nicole has chosen to keep moving forward and stay open to whatever life brings her next. But after everything she has been through, what does Nicole really believe about love now? And can she truly control what comes next? Let's uncover her final message. Nicole's real lesson about love and starting over. After everything Nicole Kidman has lived through, her latest comments seem to reveal a woman who has learned something important. Not everything in life can be planned. Years ago, Nicole married Tom Cruise at just 23 because she was deeply in love. She knew people warned that the marriage could affect her career, but she did not care. At that moment, love mattered more than anything else. Years later, she found love again with Keith Urban. Together, they built a family and spent nearly 2 decades creating a life she once believed would continue. Then, that chapter changed too. Yet what stands out about Nicole now is not anger. It is her willingness to remain open to life, open to love. open to trying new things, open to making mistakes, failing, and finding the strength to get back up. That may be the deeper meaning behind her simple statement, "It's all new every time." Perhaps she was not only talking about divorce, she was talking about life itself. Surviving something once does not mean the next painful experience will hurt less. Experience does not make a person immune to heartbreak. It simply gives them another chapter to learn from. Nicole seems to understand that now. She is not pretending her divorce from Keith was easy. She is not claiming that her first divorce taught her how to handle her second. And she is certainly not suggesting that getting older makes heartbreak painless. Instead, she appears to accept that every ending is different because every relationship is different. Tom was one chapter of her life. Keith was another. And now, Nicole is standing at the beginning of a chapter she did not necessarily expect to write. That may be the most revealing part of her confession. She once believed she could choose her future through love. Later, she built a life she thought would remain familiar. Now she seems to understand that even the best plans can change. But instead of closing herself off because of that uncertainty, she is choosing to keep her heart open. And perhaps that is what makes her story more powerful than the divorce headlines suggest. Experience did not make Nicole immune to pain. It taught her that life keeps changing. And sometimes, the strongest response is not trying to control what happens next, but accepting the change, learning from it, and having the courage to keep moving forward. So, what do you think about Nicole Kidman's confession? Did her 2 divorces affect her differently, or reveal different versions of her? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.